Okay, from South Korea now to the UK. I'm going to introduce our next speaker. He is the head of the Office of Quantum Technologies, Department for Science, Innovation, and Technology at the UK. His name is Tom Newby, and he previously worked for the Treasury Department, where he helped decide how the UK would spend its money. Although he's 3 weeks in, he started his career working for the Queen and has been in government service his entire life. What a great person to head an innovative office. Please help me in welcoming to the stage Mr. Tom Newby.
Hello. Thank you for having me in week 3. It's a privilege to be here. When you have a name like Newby, it's quite a strong incentive not to change jobs. But I've got to say the world of quantum was too enticing to refuse. And as the introduction implied, I'm not a scientist. I'm not from the world of quantum. I'm a policy professional by background. But actually, I'm a historian by training. So I thought I'd start where I'm most comfortable, which is with a brief history lesson, if you'll, bear with me. Let's see. Okay. So the history of the UK National Quantum Programme goes back to 2013, when the community that already existed in the UK researching quantum got together to think about how do we take a more structured and strategic approach to driving the technologies forward. And they did this through a commitment that was made by the government at the time, initial 380 million commitment, and the standing up of the programme. And it's really just grown from there. So we invested further in 2019 and started branching out and focusing more on commercialisation of the technologies. And since then, we've come to 2023 and we're launching a new strategy, of which I'll say a bit more today. I think the thing I wanted to highlight about this journey, where we've been able to invest 1 billion over the last 10 years through the programme, is this has taken place at a time when we've had, I think, 6 different administrations in the UK. It's a bit hard to keep count, if I'm honest. But it's interesting that through all of those, this commitment has only maintained and increased recently. And I think that is really promising for the next 10 years, because there is real belief amongst the leadership of all colours in the UK that this really matters, and that there's a big economic opportunity. So what's the programme done so far? Well, quite a lot actually, and I think it was interesting to see some of the other presentations earlier. There's some things that sound quite similar, and I hope that we've actually inspired some of the work through what we've done already. So there is a network of 4 national hubs, one focused on communications in York, sensors and timing in Birmingham, enhanced imaging in Glasgow, and computing in Oxford. And the idea is these bring together universities and industry partners to accelerate the research on these technologies and to steer industrial development as well. And these have been really successful in creating really rich ecosystems in those areas and also beyond. We have a challenge fund, which is funding industry-led projects to develop new products and technologies based on quantum. And we have a national quantum computing centre, which is a kind of research institution, a sort of national laboratory, which thinks about how we can accelerate the development of scalable quantum computers. We've done a lot on skills. We have many centres for doctoral training focused on quantum. We fund PhD candidates and lots of fellowships. And we also have access to the kit as well. So I recently visited the Quantum Metrology Institute at our National Physical Laboratory, and what's really interesting there is we have the kit that can help test and evaluate some of the emerging technologies, and we're giving startups and others access to it. What has this actually resulted in? Well, I think it means the UK is really well placed to capitalise on the opportunity of quantum in the next 10 years. We've got the largest number of quantum startups in Europe. Our quantum firms are attracting more equity investment than anywhere else in Europe, second only to the US in the world, and we're third globally for the quality and impact of our quantum science. And the community is already generating some really exciting applications, and there's too many here to run through, but I thought I'd just pull out some of those that I found really inspiring just in my first few days in the job. So Nottingham University has developed a spin-out which has created wearable brain sensors which use a wearable brain scanner, that uses quantum sensors. And this will give new insights into disease like epilepsy and Alzheimer's. But the thing about a wearable brain scanner is that it can also be used for patients that wouldn't sit still in a kind of conventional scanner, such as children or people with Parkinson's disease. So I think it's a really exciting application and one example of how quantum can really transform clinical diagnosis and treatment. We've also got other interesting applications. So Toshiba and BT are working together in London to trial a QKD network, which I also visited last week. And the company in Cardiff has actually been looking at a LiDAR camera using quantum, which will actually be able to more accurately measure greenhouse gas emissions on a continuous basis at scale and at low cost. And of course, that's the key thing here, is thinking about that translation from these interesting emerging technologies into something that can become a product and can be scaled across the economy. And that's really where the next phase of our strategy will focus too. And we think there's a real opportunity in the UK because there's lots of sectors that we can plug this technology into, whether it is our finance sector and some of the innovative work that's happening there, or whether it's through the NHS, the world's largest public health service provider and employer. And what does the strategy behind this actually look like? Well, it's our vision for the UK to become a quantum-enabled economy in 2033. I think it's an excellent strategy. I can say that because I wasn't involved in writing it, but others have told me and assured me it is as well. Less biased, maybe, folk. And I think it's good because it's action-oriented, and there are 4 goals at the heart of it. So one is an extension of the original goal of the National Quantum Programme in the UK, which is continuing to deliver world-leading science and research. The second is about making the UK the go-to place for quantum businesses and a preferred location for investors and global talent on quantum as well. The third is driving the use of quantum tech to deliver benefits for the economy, for society, and for our national security. And finally, to ensure the development of regulation and standards which actually support safe innovation. And I think this is a really interesting area. These are obviously nascent emerging technologies, but there's an opportunity for us to think early and lay the groundwork for some regulation that is sort of sensible, internationally agreed, and will mean that these technologies can be used to their greatest effect. And these aren't just warm words. So this strategy is backed by £2.5 billion over the next 10 years. And I can say, having very recently come from the UK Treasury, it's quite hard to get that amount of money out of them, and certainly that amount of money over a 10-year commitment. So again, it is a signal about the belief in the UK system in quantum. As part of the strategy, we've stood up my office. So we've taken what was a policy team in the Department for Business, and we are now a cross-departmental office, which is housed in a new Department for Science, Innovation and Technology, which was also created earlier this year. And the idea is that we will work with delivery partners across the programme, so the likes of UK Research and Innovation, and other departments that are looking at quantum, such as our Ministry of Defence or the Department for Health, to drive forward this strategy. And there are a few things that will guide our approach to that. So, the first is, government's quite a complicated place, and we want to make it simpler for industry and other partners to collaborate with us and be strategic in how we do that. The second is, if you're not from this world, quantum technologies are quite complicated, and we want to support those in sectors that are not currently thinking about quantum, or those in government that aren't, to understand it and understand its potential. Resources are limited, even with our 2.5 billion commitment, so we want to be really strategic about how we prioritise the time of companies and the time and investment of government, so we actually make sure we continue to move the dial. And we also believe this is an international endeavour, and that's right at the heart of this session. there's only so far any of us can go alone in our individual countries, and so international collaboration will continue to be key for us driving this forward in the UK. I'd just say that this is a plank of a wider commitment that the UK has to be a science and tech superpower. It's something the PM is really passionate about in the UK, and it's sort of testament to that he set up the Department for Science, Innovation and Technology, and is doing things like hosting the Global AI Summit at Bletchley Park in London next month to show, that we are really serious about engaging globally on emerging and existing technologies. We only published this strategy in March, but we haven't been resting on our laurels, so there's quite a lot that's been delivered since then. We've launched 2 ambitious short-term missions in computing and PNT with £70 million of funding behind them. We've launched a 15 million quantum catalyst fund, and the idea behind this is to bring industry partners together with government departments and say, where can you use these technologies to solve public sector challenges now? And I think that's really exciting. And we've kicked off a £100 million investment competition in research, including the call for the next generation of the national hubs that I talked about earlier. And we're expanding our centres for doctoral training too on quantum. As well as this, we've kicked off a couple of reviews to think about the long-term future of the sector. So one of those is looking at how we drive forward pro-innovation regulation. We have a group called the Regulatory Horizons Council in the UK that will be looking at this for quantum. And we've also commissioned our Royal Academy of Engineering to think about the infrastructure needs of the quantum sector in the UK and how those might evolve, including looking at things like fab facilities. And in the last few months, we've also signed an agreement with Canada, fostering the partnership with a key ally, and we'll be looking to sign more. And of course, we've stood up my office as well. What's next? So we'll be building out the team I have to manage this programme and formally launch the office later this year at a showcase that we're hosting for the quantum sector in London. I hope I'll see many of you there. We're kicking off a skills task force, and the idea behind this is we've been very focused, I think, rightly, on the kind of fundamental, the skills at kind of graduate, postgraduate, and beyond level in the first phase of the programme. But we want to think about the adjacent skills that might be required at all levels to enable the sector. And so we're bringing together industry, businesses, academia, and others to think about that. We'll be engaging widely on the next phase of the work. This is a pretty comprehensive plan, but it can be even more comprehensive. And so we're thinking about where the next tranches of funding will go. And we're accelerating some of the work of our National Quantum Computing Centre through what's called its SPARK programme. So this is getting people access to not just the actual quantum computers that the centre hosts, but technical support to think about how to use them and how to develop applications on them. And we'll have a continued focus on international collaboration and driving more agreements with other countries to drive forward our sort of collective strategies. And what will underpin this work? Well as having the strategy, we think we need some really ambitious 10-year missions that will catalyse the energy of the community, make sure that we're all working towards a common goal. And we've already launched a couple of short-term missions that sort of show what they might look like. So we have one that's focused on PMT, which is looking at how you demonstrate quantum sensors and clocks can provide greater resilience for those services. And the second is looking at computing and how we can demonstrate advantage of a quantum computer over a classical one in useful applications by 2025. But these are reasonably short term. So how do we actually design missions that will focus the energies for 10 years? And that is what we're talking to industry about at the moment. We expect to have a mission focused on all the sort of big technology groups, so on computing, on networking, on sensing, and we're thinking hard about where to best focus those and to have an ambitious outcome, but also a clear, measurable one that we think can be delivered. So just to wrap up, to recap, I mean, the UK is already a great place to do quantum research and develop quantum applications, thanks to a first-of-its-kind program that we stood up 10 years ago. We're now taking that commitment to the next level with a £2.5 billion investment, an expanded program and a new office that will be coordinating it. And as part of that, we're not only going to continue to drive research and innovation, but we're thinking about adoption across the economy and shaping international discussions on regulation and the governance of the technology. We've already started the work. Companies and research communities are already benefiting from the next phase of the strategy, but you'll be hearing more on our plans in the coming weeks. But there's still much more to do, and so what I'd encourage you, if you've got ideas on how we can take some of this forward, then please get in touch with my office, and we're keen to collaborate. Thank you.